back to my channel, or welcome if you haven't already been. My name is Mari, aka Frixility, and this is my lifestyle channel. Ooh, nailed the intro. First try. So this video was kind of random, but not really, because I planned to do a video like this, but I just didn't plan to do it today. Let's be real, I did not plan to do this today. But you know, when God calls you to do something, you don't really question it, you just get up and do it. And speaking of God, that is the topic of today's video. So as you can see by the title, I'm going to be talking about my personal journey with growing my relationship with God, growing my relationship, through Jesus, and just how my journey has been thus far up to this point. Before I get into the video, please like, subscribe, share this video, share it with somebody who may need it. You never know. Share it with somebody who's like, kind of on that, maybe I do, maybe I don't believe it. Maybe this testimony of mine, it may not help. It may, honestly, whoever it does reach and whoever it does help, I'm grateful that it has helped you. Because one thing about it, one thing I have learned from my relationship is that as much love as he instills to us, he wants us to give that back out. So this is my way of giving back out this love to him. But let's get started. So where do I even begin? I'll say this. I did not grow up in a Christian household. I won't even say that. I didn't grow up just in a super strictly Christian household. Like how you know how you grow up, how some people will grow up in a super strict Christian household. They're going to church every Sunday, Bible study every Wednesday. They're, Bible thumping Christians. Okay, but no, it wasn't like that. I would pray. My dad had us pray. My mom and dad had us pray before we ate and, before we went to bed. And our aunt would too sometimes when she would watch us. But that was to the extent of my knowledge and my belief system when it came to God. I knew there was a God out there. I just wasn't really sure what all came with that. If I'm being real, I was never really a super church going person. Only times I would really just go to church is when I would spend the weekend with my cousin, because they went to church. They were definitely church going people. But that's about the only time. And then there was a point in my life where after my parents split, my mom found a church and we would go there, me, her, and my brother. It was a nice church. I am lucky to have experienced good churches, but I've also experienced bad churches too. So we're going to get more into that later on in the video. For right now, we're going to the beginning throughout. So, like I said, when I was a kid, I wasn't really just big on oh my gosh, God is always watching me and, he's always here. I never really just worried about it because it was never really just put in my face like that. It wasn't really just, I won't say forced, but it was not forced upon me in the slightest way. It was just, said in passing, or, I thank God, or, pray before you go to sleep, or pray before you eat. God is great, God is good, let us thank him for our food, amen. You know the prayer. The prayer you say before you eat, a little quick prayer when you're ready to smash, bust down. But yeah, so fast forward, middle school, elementary school, I really wasn't, again, I was not focused on God at all. 8th grade came around. My grandmother, she passed away. She passed away in 2018. She was a firm, heavy believer in God, by the way. She went to church. Her and my granddad went to church every Sunday. She always carried around her Bible. She always had Bible crosswords and Bible puzzles and Bible coloring books. She was a Christian woman through and through. And I believe she is still watching over me to this day. I keep her obituary right here by my window. But yeah, so she died in April of 2018. And that was probably one of the hardest deaths I've ever had to deal with. Like, that was the second grandparent I had lost, because I had lost my other grandmother, my dad's mom, long before this one. And she was also a Christian woman. She believed in God, but she never really just too much talked about it with us, like my mom's mom did. But yeah, when she passed, I like remember everybody telling me, well, at least everybody in my household, because you know, when I moved down here, it was a complete total shift. Like, these were church going people. My dad and my stepmom are ministers, so it's just a major shift. Like, this is brought into my life, like, just like, so it's like I went from this type of lifestyle to boom. I came on a Saturday. I was going to church literally the next morning. No excuses. They was not playing. It was not playing with me. I was like, bro, come on, bro. But I didn't know at the time. God, I'm sorry. I didn't know at the time. But yeah, anyway, so when my grandma passed away, you know, they were talking about, you know, just pray. She's in a better place. God has taken her to a better place. And you know, when you're young and you go through a death like that and you're grieving hard, it's like, that's the last thing you want to hear. Because in my mind, it was like, God, you know, how could you do that? Like, how could you take somebody off this earth when there are people out here killing people and assaulting people and messing with children and all other types of stuff? But this was a sweet, God-fearing woman, and you took her off this planet. But as I've grown to learn, it was just her time. It was just her time to go. And, you know, it was very hard to deal with that first, and everybody was just telling me, you know, pray. She's in a better place. All you can do now is pray. But it was like, I was so hurt that, like, hearing anything about God was just filling me with so much anger and like confusion. And it was to a point where it was just like I was questioning whether or not I even believed in God, because it was just like, how could you let something like that happen? Because it tore my mom up. It tore our whole family up. And honestly, it was like after that, my mom wasn't the same. Like, our family structure wasn't the same. So it was just kind of like, how could you let something like that happen? And then the repercussions of it, how could you let that happen either? But like I said, as I've learned, all that happened for a reason. She is in a better place. I know she's up there in heaven with God, with Jesus. And I know she's living her best life, probably somewhere coloring in her coloring books or doing a puzzle. So I'll fast forward, not even fast forward. I'll tell y'all about my experience with my first bad church that I remembered. I'm not going to say the name of the church. I'm not going to say the name of the pastor. But it was the first church I went to. It was basically our family church. This church, my family, my dad's side of the family anyway, has been going to this church like for generations, basically, since our grandparents, probably even before that. But this was basically our family church. And so everybody had to go. But this is one of those instances where I also was confused about God at the time, because I already didn't like the church, because my problem wasn't with going to church. Because like I've said, I've been to good churches before. I've enjoyed the services, and it's been like a good time. Sorry. But this church, it was kind of weird. I didn't really like it. I didn't even have a good feeling from it when I first went there. And it was just kind of like, it was kind of off-putting to me. And like the people there were off-putting. And the pastor was definitely off-putting. And it was just like, it was basically a bunch of high and mighty people trying to, how do I put this? You know, those some Christians who will say this and say that and preach this and preach that, but don't practice what they preach. Yeah, that was that. Those are these type of people. And they were really judgmental. And I felt judged for literally everything I did. And, you know, one of those things was like, you always be honest with God. Bro, side story. I remember It was Easter one year. We were all supposed to write Easter speeches, like the youth. We were supposed to write Easter speeches about what Easter meant to us. So apparently this wasn't a place of free speech. Apparently, because my Easter speech was just so bad, they made me rewrite it. I was like, but I thought we were supposed to be honest, and you know, I'm not gonna lie. Not in church either. I'm definitely not gonna lie in church. So I'm like, yeah, I was like, I mean, I never really just believed in Jesus, and I always thought Easter was about the Easter bunny. And I was being real. Like, that's how I grew up thinking. Like, bro, every Easter I wait for the Easter bunny, bro. Sunday, bro, where my eggs at? Where's my candy? For real. Until I learned. See, I learned though. I learned. I've grown. I've learned. But at the time, I was just like, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what Easter meant to me my whole life. Like, you can't tell me it didn't. How you gonna change my story and tell me to rewrite my story in my Easter speech? But anyway, yeah. But honestly, being at that church made me just, it was confusing. I couldn't learn. Because, you know, wherever you're going, you're supposed to, you know, be able to learn and take something. But a lot of the times, it was like he was just spewing, like just talking out the side of his neck and not really teaching anyone anything. And I was never able to grasp anything. I was never able to pay attention in church. I was always goofing off. And it was like, I wasn't somewhere where I could learn about God for real. So my sister was the first of my siblings to stop going because she already knew something was off with there. And then soonly after, we just stopped going together, all my siblings, and then my mom. And so we started going to a new church, and at here it was definitely a shift from the Baptist, because that first church was Baptist. This was definitely a shift, and it was definitely an eye-opening experience when it came to trying forming a relationship with God, because here I was, it was like, okay, this is new. I'm like feeling the spirit. Like, there will be times where somebody will be preaching, or the pastor will be preaching, or the choir will be singing. I feel myself tearing up, and I knew it was the spirit just from what my stepmom would describe. And so it was nice. It was a nice church. I can say that I didn't really have any bad experiences there, but it got me to kind of kickstart my relationship with God. And so the next church I went to was non-denominational. It was my stepmom's friend's church, basically. And it was definitely even a more different experience than the one from the last church I went to. Like, they were speaking in tongues. There was prophets, and it was just a whole different experience. And that really opened my eyes. Like, because there would be different people up there talking and testifying about different ways that God spoke to them. And it just made me confused, because it was like, dang, I don't know how God is speaking to me. So then at that point, I was like, okay, I could continue having all these questions that these people don't have the answers for, or I could do my own thing and go search and learn about it myself to find out for my own. So I stopped going to church, because a lot of people were like, you don't go to church, but you're, but no, I really don't think that the church makes the Christian. Like I said, the people make the church. The church is just like, the church is within the people. It's just the building, but we are the church. And so, I stopped going to church, and I started trying to navigate having a relationship and trying to hear God on my own, through my way, because everybody's relationship with him is different. No matter what experiences you go through, he has a different relationship with every single person on this planet, no matter what. That last church helped me grow in so many ways. Like, I was journaling more, I was praying more. It was like I was starting to get in the habit of following God and following his word. But when I left, I started getting more into his word. Because if you want to understand God, 2 ways of understanding him is praying and by looking in his word. And it literally says that in there. If you want to understand him more, look to his word. Look in the Bible. Look at the stories he's written. Look at all the people there. Look at all the examples you have of stuff that you probably gone. Anything that you're going through or you've gone through, someone else has went through. And I always remember that when I go through hardships, I'm like, somebody else has went through this and also came out of it, so I know I can too. Because if God can deliver one person from something, he can deliver you from it too. I should have wrote this down, but I'm speaking like God is speaking through me. Like I said, this was like kind of random. I woke up and God was like, record that video. And I was like, okay. I didn't write a script or anything. This is just me talking. But and it's so crazy because the closer I got with him, the more I could tell things were starting to shift and change. But at the same time, it's also like the harder things got. Because when you lived your whole life like one way and then you try to change it to another way, it's gonna always be a hard shift, because it's like, okay, I've always known this one way. I've always known living in sin. I've always known of, just living this lifestyle. And so when you shift to getting on that path of the straight and narrow through Christ, it's kind of like, okay, now you're more open to being attacked. You're more open to be trying to be provoked to come back to that old life you had. But as you grow stronger with your relationship, you grow stronger in your resistance, your resilience to those type of things, to these temptations, to these distractions. And so they're going to keep coming. They don't stop coming. The devil doesn't stop trying to distract you or tempt you just because you have a relationship with Christ. No, he's never going to stop doing that. But your strength comes from Christ. And as you keep growing that relationship, you can resist it even more. Lord, I'm preaching right now. But no, this topic is just like very, very near and dear to me, because I was like, I have to make this video and like spread this, because I used to go from not really sure to believing in 100% believing in him and leaving everything up to him, because he has our whole lives already. He knows everything that's going to happen, and he's just trying to guide us on that path of being our best selves. And that's the path I'm on now. I can say since growing my relationship with God, the more I've started to trust him, the more things have just started coming to me. And it's just like blessing after blessing after blessing. And I always make sure to thank him and still pray. Because one thing about it, a lot of people will pray when they're at their lowest, and God is always going to help his children when they cry out. If you cry out to him, he's going to help you. But what a lot of people forget to do is that when they get what they prayed for and God pulls them out of that space, they forget to keep praying, and they forget to keep thanking him and showing gratitude for everything that he's done, especially pulling you out of this dark place. And they stop praying and they get comfortable. And then God can take it just like that, literally, to show you like, you still need me despite you being in a better place. I know I'm always going to need him, despite no matter what place in my life I'm at, no matter if I'm at my low or at my highs or even in my mid-ground, no matter what, I know I'm always going to need him. And so I make sure to pray and thank him every single day. Every morning when I wake up, that's the first thing I do. Like, I've been trying to get in the habit of not reaching for my phone, and if I do and I realize it, I'll just drop it and I'll pray. But I've been trying to get in the habit of praying as soon as I wake up in the morning, because no matter what, God is always going to be for you. No matter what happens in your life, it was to build you, and it was to strengthen you, and it was to change. It was to change how you are, change how you think, change how you act. So you, it's the way you act. It's the way you act. It's the way you act. Like, no, for real. I love that guy, for real. But no, for real. Well, y'all stay with me. That's one thing I've learned, no matter how bad things get, because even I'm guilty of doing that. Like, when I first started out my relationship, I would, and things were like bad. I was at my lowest, and I couldn't do anything else but pray and call out to God, and he answered. But then once my left started, kind of getting back on track, I would just, I forgot about him. And he showed me that, I'm still here and you still need me. And so things went right back left. So I'm like, dang, what am I doing wrong? And I just realized, I was like, I got to keep praising him. I got to keep thanking him, even on my good days. So even on my best days, I'm still thanking him. I'm still praying, because that's how like y'all are locked in. He's going to be locked in with you if you're willing to meet him halfway and lock in with him. Because God is always going to be for us. He's always going to show us love. And no matter what happens, everything that happens to us is out of his love, because he wants us to grow. I can say all the trials and tribulations I've been through, especially within the last 2 years, like I've been through so much that that's it. Some for a whole nother video topic, some it's just okay. I've been through a relationship where it was somebody that God sent me, that I prayed for, and it was but he put a pause on it, and he took that, and he was not yet. And that's another thing about God. Sometimes his no's, what you may think is a no, is just his not yet. No, you can't have it now, but that's not to say you can't have it later. Maybe you're not in the place that I want you to be for you to have it now. So I'm going to keep building you until you're in the place for you to have it later. Y'all not hearing me though. Y'all's not hearing me. I don't think y'all hearing me. For real. But yes, and so that was something that was really hard, because it was dang, this is somebody I've prayed for. This is the type of person I've been praying that God brings into my life, and he brought him. And then I will never say that I regret ever having this person in my life, because they've helped me grow in ways that I was not growing myself. And they taught me new things and showed me new ways of doing things. And even I've helped them get to their path back to God. We both gained things out of that relationship. And God was just that was for a season, and now you need something new, need something refreshed. And it hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it hurt a lot, because this was somebody that was very important to me, that I was just dang, this is the one. But God was no, not yet. Another thing was just going from job to job. One thing I can say, I know the reason I'm at where I'm at right now with my job is because of God. Because like I said, the way our hiring system is, it was so hard for anybody to even get an interview, even have our boss be there for their interview. And the fact that I was able to get that interview, have him show up on time for the interview, be able to do it, and then get hired the same day. And then within 4 months of me just going into work, barely calling out, doing what I'm supposed to, showing up every day, not complaining, going in with a positive attitude, praying over my job every day. Within 4 months, I got promoted to be a manager at my job. And I can't thank nobody but God for that, because it's just I'll say in the beginning of the year, I was in a complete he did a complete 180 on my life, for real. I was hopping from job to job, jobs I didn't even freaking like. I couldn't find a job that I liked worth nothing. If I did like it, it only lasted for a month or two. And then not even a month. And then I would just hate it. It was always something, or it was always the management or the people there, just something. But then I got to this job, the management's cool, my colleagues are cool. I actually like what I'm doing at my job. I don't have to do too much, but it's also what I'm not going to be bored. And then I'm moving up. So it's I knew this is where he needed to place me in order for me to grow. I'm learning more responsibilities. I'm learning how to better manage, my finances. I'm learning how to manage my emotions. And all of that is through me praying and talking to God every single day. I even made a prayer board because I was like, I saw it and I was like, I think that's a really good idea, and I decorated it and it's gonna help me. I felt like that would help me to stay on top of my praying more, because I'm like, okay, I see this pretty bedazzly sparkle board and I can just write my stuff on a flashcard, put it in the little envelope and put it on the board. It's like kind of like a one-way, like a little messaging system between me and God. And I really feel like that's also helped me grow my relationship, because I took that time. I didn't get on my phone. I didn't even put on any TV, because normally when I like to do things, I like to put on background noise, but I was like, no, this is just me and God. This is me and his time. Because you got to set aside time for him. Like, because he's always setting aside time for you. It's like with any relationship, you have to pour into the relationship in order for it to grow. So if he's only pouring into you, but you're not pouring into him, that's one-sided relationship, and it's not going to work. Just like with any relationship, if it's one-sided, it's never going to work. I take time out of my day to pray. I take time just to be with him, sit with him, and pray. And sometimes those prayers be intense. Sometimes it's like some of those prayers that will leave you crying and leave you feeling like and it's not even like a drain. It's more of like a like a weight just lifted off your shoulder, because that's really the best way for me to calm down, like, is through prayer. I've noticed how I could be so stressed and so tense, and I'll have a good talk with God, and then it's just like all that weight is lifted off my shoulder, because he wants us to come to him with our problems. He wants us to come to him when we're worried about things, because he wants to take care of us. He loves us. We're his children. He wants to help us. He wants to watch us grow. He doesn't like seeing us sad or hurt. He doesn't like putting us through some of the things he has to put us through, but he knows he has to in order to get us to where we need to be. And so that's been my relationship with him thus far. And I can say it's still growing. And I'm not going to say I've just completely just stopped sinning. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie like I'm just 100% the perfect Christian, because I still, I still have my times where I cuss. I still, I smoke. I have sex. Like, it's like I'm not 100% a perfect Christian. But what I can say is I'm doing my best to spread his word. I'm doing my best to spread his love every single day, and to just try to be the person that he'd want me to be based off my core values. I know sometimes I still sin and I give into earthly desires, and he understands that, because we're human, and he understands who he created, and he knows my heart though. And he knows that despite me sinning and despite me giving to these earthly desires, he will always be my number one priority, for real. And I know that I know that I can go to him any time of the day and ask for forgiveness, and he'll give it to me, because he's just a merciful God. So no matter how much I sin, I know he's still going to love me, and he's still going to be in my corner. And that's one thing that's just kept me on this path, really, because I'm not gonna lie, there's been many moments in my life where I felt like nobody was really just paying attention to me, and nobody was just really there for me like I was there for them, or I would be pouring more into others more than they were pouring to me. And I'm not gonna lie, that hurt, and that would kind of hurt me. But it's like with God, it's like he's always there for me. He's always in my corner, no matter what, no matter how many times I mess up, no matter how many times I do wrong. He's always there for me. He's always willing to forgive me and still show me love, and still be like, I'm still here. Like, I'm not going anywhere. And that type of loyalty is something I pray for in other people. All of God's characteristics, I look for that in people in my life, and I pray for that. And I pray that he sends people with those godlike characteristics in my life, and that they help me stay on my path with God. Because another thing about it, as you grow closer in your relationships, old habits and then old relationships, they start dying out. Stuff stops working all of a sudden for you, because now that your mind is shifting and now that you're changing, it's like now stuff that you used to do, it's not really interesting anymore. The people you used to hang out with, they're starting to like not be interesting to you anymore either. And it's like God is pruning you and he's shaping you and cutting away all these dead things and changing you for the, like I said, changing you for the better. And so yeah, there's going to be a point where you're going to feel isolated, where you're going to feel like you're losing all these friends back to back and losing jobs, and like you don't like the same stuff you like anymore. And you know, that's okay, because that just means God is preparing you to move you someplace else, someplace better. He's never going to put you in a place where you're going to do worse than you did before. No. He's always going to move you forward if you're willing to meet him halfway. Because you got to be willing to meet him halfway. That's another thing. People expect God to do all the work. But our prayers can only do so much if we don't put any action behind them. Like, yes, we can pray, we can ask for things, but if we don't work towards it and we don't meet him halfway, we cannot expect it to just happen, especially in our time, because when we do pray for things, it's always going to be in his time. Everything that happens to us, everything we pray for, we ask for, it's always going to be in his time. And you know, we may not even get what we pray for, because that may not be something that was meant for us to have necessarily. And so that's really all I've learned as far as my relationship with God and how I've grown from it. I can say that I have definitely grown since taking it seriously. I'm more compassionate towards others. I'm more open to being understanding. I'm more open to different perspectives. I'm, like they say, to be, you know, slow to anger, quick to listen, you know, slow to speak. I'm starting to be more like that, because I used to be somebody who would have emotional outbursts and say things when I was emotional. But now it's like I've learned to just be quiet, stay quiet until I'm in a place, I'm in the right headspace to even be able to talk. Because if I'm not, then I'm going to say something that I really shouldn't be saying. And so he's helped me to be more peaceful. He's given me peace of mind. Chaotic things can be happening around me, but I'm calm, because I know, like, okay, God's got me. He's got his hands on me. I'm covered in the blood. Like, I'm good. I can walk outside and just be completely good, because I know that my God is watching over me. And it's like, it's so freeing. Like, it's a hard journey, but it's so freeing at the same time, because it's like, I really truly don't know where I'd be without him. For real, if I'm being real, I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably be somewhere frigged up. For real, somewhere lost, because that's what I was. I was just lost, but I was found. Amazing grace, oh, how sweet the sound. Y'all don't know nothing about that. The most basic Christian song ever. Like, come on now. Let me stop playing. I really feel like God was here with me, speaking through me, honestly, because any chance I get to share my testimony, I will share it. And now I'm one of those people, yeah, I used to like, why are you trying to force? I'm not going to say I'm trying to force people, but I'm definitely more inclined to like suggest it. Or, you know, have you tried praying? Have you tried talking to God? I'm one of those people now. Like, you should pray about it. Like, I'm a pray about it type of gal. Like, do you hear me? And honestly, I wouldn't change that, because prayer, I can't say the same for everybody, but for me, prayer and God has helped me tremendously. Like, it's given me discipline and, you know, all this other stuff. And I honestly feel like it could help you too. And that's why I wanted to put out this video for anybody that needed it. Because you never know when you'll need something. I've had plenty of times where I prayed and I needed God to like answer my prayers, and then boom, I'll see a YouTube video pop up about it. And I'm like, yes. And I know that was God speaking to me. So this is me. Honestly, I feel like right now, this is God speaking to whoever is watching this through me, to tell you that this is definitely the way. This is the way. And honestly, like I said, God is love and God is life. Like anything he does is out of love. So it's like, it's not bad. It's not bad in the slightest at all. And I wouldn't even change this walk. I wouldn't change how my journey went. I wouldn't change none of it, because I knew this is what was meant to happen for me to get right here, for me to be able to sit right here and tell y'all this. So I hope that you take something from it. And I pray that God blesses everyone that's watching this. And I hope that he puts his hands on all y'all hearts, that y'all be able to spread this message and maybe spread y'all testimonies too. And then for those that have come across this that aren't really too 100% sure, I hope this encouraged you to, you know, start your own journey and try to find your relationship with God. Because I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that church is the way, like, because realistically, that's not the way for everybody. Like, I stopped going to church, and I've been able to grow my relationship better than I had when I was in church. So it was like, okay, everybody, like I said, everybody's journey is different, and you don't have to be afraid. Like, really, it's better when you're afraid and you do it anyway, because God knows you're willing to take that step and he's going to meet you halfway. It's like walking off a cliff, not knowing, like knowing you're probably gonna fall. Like, okay, yeah, I'm walking off a cliff, I'm obviously gonna fall, but closing your eyes, walking off the cliff and trusting that God is going to catch you, and he will. Because if you put that trust in him, he's going to come through. So that was pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you took something from it. I hope this inspired you in a way, or, you know, motivated you to get up, pray, you know, give your life to Christ, you know, because honestly, I can't speak for, like I said, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it was the best decision I've ever made. And I will stand on that forever and ever. And my God, thank you to my God. Amen. Now, like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Amen. Like, no, for real. Hit the subscribe button. I need to feed my family. Not really. All right, y'all. Bye. Let me get out of here.